Hi, Richard. So it's very great to have you here today because well-being is a topic that I've been interested in, especially for the past few years. And we go through so many challenges with pandemic and then learning about the different health, mental health, well-being, everything. So first, can you introduce yourself and share your background with our viewers?
Of course. Thank you, V, for having me today. It's good to talk about this topic. It's just one of these things that, as you said, through COVID, through everything else that happens, there's so much work to do every day. So I'm Richard, and on paper, I'm a very, very technical person. I'm an actuary. I have built actuarial models. I've worked in internal audit. I've worked in risk. I do a lot for the actuarial profession. But one of the other things that I became involved in 3 or 4 years ago was coaching. And so I did a qualification at Henley Business School in coaching, and it was something that completely changed my life because I wanted to be able to help the people around me more with the experience that I'd had. But the thing that it actually has taken me even more so to is what you talked about there, the well-being, because coaching at its core for me was actually building awareness of myself and helping people build awareness of themselves as well, because that helps them think differently about everything they're doing. But building that awareness is actually very much comes through mindfulness. And that's taking that time and that space without distraction just to think. And whether mindfulness be taking that just a moment, just a minute to breathe, taking a deep breath to center yourself, or maybe taking longer to sit there doing some meditation or lying down or sitting up, whatever works for someone. It's actually checking in with your body to see what your thoughts are, what your feelings are doing, but trying to look at them with curiosity, not with sort of deep unpacking or sort of thinking, I'm angry, what's caused that? Wait, where am I? It's actually, I'm angry. It's a negative emotion. Let it go, move on. But it's building that awareness of what's going on. And the mindfulness itself, it could be sitting quietly in a room, in a dark room, breathing, meditation, thinking about that, focusing on your breath. It might be something that you get when you exercise. I used to do a lot of running. And so mindfulness for me at that point was just being outside, breathing, feeling the air come in, the air come out. It was the feet hitting the ground. It was actually just hearing the sounds as they pass. I wasn't listening to music because I prefer to listen to myself. But the last thing I was thinking about at that time was that last difficult meeting I'd had, the spreadsheet, the meeting that's coming up. It was actually about being present in that moment, just breathing and just moving. And I remember well before I actually was formally involved in mindfulness and doing my coaching, I was running this 100-kilometer race in Paris around the Bois de Vincennes. And it was just a 1 mile loop in the forest, around and around, on very sort of soft, sort of padded ground. I think it was just sort of bark or something like that. But I remember coming out of that going, it was the closest I ever got to meditation and mindfulness, because by the time you run around that loop 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, you knew every single footstep, every single thing, every movement, where the birds were sitting and every rock, every stone. It became very, very relaxing, and it was just moving. There was nothing else going on in my head because it was such a long distance, you couldn't run too fast. You had to run quite slowly. But at that point, you didn't get out of breath. It was very, very relaxing at that point. And while I'm not recommending that people go out and try and run a 100-kilometer loop around any park that they've got in front of them, it's actually finding for every single person, what is it that relaxes you? What brings you back to right now that takes all your focus? On top of that fridge in the background, I study wine as well. There's a Lego Land Rover up there. And it was just, I like Land Rovers, but one of those, I found that quite mindful. Having 2,000 pieces of Lego, putting bits of Lego together, not thinking about something else because it was something quite technical that I was just playing with. But again, it brought me to the present right now to forget about everything else that comes on. So when you come out of that, it's like waking up, feeling fresh, and looking at everything with different eyes. It's an interesting feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So thanks for that insightful introduction. And you mentioned a couple of different things about mindfulness, like including being present or feeling relaxed or knowing what's going on. So as technical people, actuaries, we like to put like definition on things. So if you have to provide like a 1 or 2 sentences about what is mindfulness, how do you define it?
It's a really wonderful question. Mindfulness, for me, it's about building awareness of self in the present. It's taking that time to be connected to right now. In some ways, and I'm not trying to get philosophical about it, but the only time that we have that we can do something with is right now. The past is gone. If we worry about it, we're losing energy over what we can't change. If we're worrying too much about what's to come, well, it's not happened yet. So actually, the only part that we can control is right now, and we can decide what to do with it. So mindful, so coming back to that definition, mindful is about being present and being aware of what's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. Great definition. I think this is why people say that you should live for the present and not the past nor the future. Yeah, because you don't know what happened in the future, and the past is the past. Yeah. So I think you also talk about it a little bit before, like why this is important for technical professionals or professional in general, especially like for the actuary we're on the spreadsheet and stuff. But can you elaborate a little bit more about like why now we should pay attention to being more mindful, even more for technical professionals, especially in the actuarial field?
There's several reasons that come to me, and I've talked about to different people in the past. Post-COVID, I think we've become more aware of the need to take care of ourselves. And actually, in this day and age, there are so many distractions. We have our mobile phone. My mobile phone is off and across the room somewhere. I have sort of do not disturb on the iPad here just now, because I want to focus on the conversation with you, because one, you're important, the topic's important, and I think it's very important to sort of give you that attention. As actuaries, we spend an awful lot of time doing very technical things. It might be building a spreadsheet, building a model, writing a report, presenting to a board, but we're also taking meetings. But if you try and sit in a meeting, write an email, update a spreadsheet, you can't actually be present on what's going on. So you end up doing none of these things very well. So with the detail that we need to think about, we make big decisions. And some of these numbers can be billions of pounds, billions of dollars, that we can make a mistake. And if you're thinking about responding to an email that's popped up, or a text message, or flicking to Instagram because you're distracted, or another notification that pops up, we can make mistakes. So talking about awareness again, to be able to do our jobs better, more effectively, more efficiently, and actually avoid the stress that comes with 1,000 things going on at once and we're all getting really busy. It's actually by being able to have that awareness when we get distracted, when something jumps up, that we'd go, I don't need to look at that just now because I'm focusing on my conversation with Fee, or I want to spend time with my wife, or whatever it might be. We deserve to give ourselves that time to be present with the people that we want to be with, the work that we need to do. Because I don't know about you, but if I do 3 things at once, I end up doing 3 things not very well. I can do 3 things back to back and actually do them a lot better and probably a lot more quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say like when you talk about it, the digital age that we are in, right? That like getting distracted is so easy. So like even personally, like I know like I shut down notification, or I try to not using social media as much, unless I have some purpose. because I know it's so easy to get sucked in in that. And because of that, like personally, what do you find is the most most challenging for you to like maintain the mindfulness in both like work and personal life?
I think generally because there are so many distractions, even when we shut down our notifications, there's almost a bit of fear of missing out, the FOMO going, what if somebody sent me an email? What if it's important? What if I need to answer my manager? What if my friend has emailed or I'm expecting an email? And even if you don't have notifications, we end up checking every 5 minutes anyway. So it's actually thinking about it going, do I need to do that checking? And it's actually, it's almost building that self-control and awareness to go, I am distracted. I am thinking about something I don't need to think about. That I could probably just put time down in an hour, a couple of hours when after I finish what I'm doing. And I think it's actually, for me, and I know a lot of actuaries as well, it's very difficult to quieten the minds that we have. We're always thinking about something. We like studying, we like learning, and I know that you do as well. We always want to learn more and know more, but our brains just flit a little bit now and again. We're always trying to jump onto something else, and it's actually being aware of when that happens. And I think it's just that most difficult part, breaking out of the habit of that need to know everything at all times, what's going on. It's actually quite relaxing just to be here right now. And I find that with conversations like this or conversations like coaching, I'm not trying to look at emails. I'm not trying to sort of answer something else. I actually almost have this invisible bubble around me because that's all the thing that matters right now. And it's not always easy because there might be, you don't know what's going on in other people's lives as well, why they might be distracted. Somebody might be ill, somebody might have an ill child, somebody might be worried about something else that's happening. And I think it's being, trying to think of the right word. I'm coming back to something about self-compassion here. It's hard to be compassionate to yourself when we think we need to do something else.
Yeah, I can see like at the end of the day, it's like practicing mindfulness is really, as you say, from the definition, is help to bring us back to the present and in a way help us to stay concentration into like what the task or what the work or what the activities we have, either like with our loved one, family, or like with work, and be more efficient. Like at work, it's more about being more efficient, being more effective. But like with our personal life, it's really about like spending quality time with people, right? So from that sense, like I think a lot of our listener will be eager to know how they can incorporate mindfulness into the daily routines, because I think it's all about like making it into habits and learn a little bit over time and make it something easy to do to gain the benefit. So for someone just beginning their mindfulness journey, like can you suggest how to get started?
Of course, there's several different ways. And I wanted to add just one thing. You made me think of something you're just speaking, because at the end of the day, it's a great way to turn off everything and separate what you've got on with your personal life. But actually doing some mindfulness in the morning as well, it actually allows the brain to relax before the start of the day. So it almost opens it up to whatever's going to come. So it actually lets you deal with stress a lot better, because you've strengthened the brain to be ready to block whatever comes. There's some very simple things to do. And I think number one is being aware of the benefits that you could get by being mindful. So if you don't know the benefits that you're going to get, you're probably not going to do much about it, because you think, well, it's hand wavy, I'm not doing anything. There's a really good book called The Science of Meditation, which actually talks about the changes in the brain and the body and the chemical when you meditate and when you do actual mindfulness, which shows that there are benefits, and it reduces the cortisol in the body, the stress hormone, that can balance your stress a lot better. It makes you more resilient. So number one, it's very much about being aware of the benefits you'll get. To practice mindfulness, It's the same as anything. It takes practice. It's setting time aside. It might be you find 5 or 10 minutes in the morning. So you might be having your cup of tea or your cup of coffee. You feel the warm mug, you smell the coffee, and you focus on just that coffee mug and thinking about the feel, the warmth in your hand, the smell of it, the notes that you get from it. And so you're taking a little bit of time there just to relax, just to bring that in. Also between meetings, and that might be in Zoom, it might be in person, but we're jumping to meetings, we'll go back and forth. And we're actually going, what we're talking about right now. Finish meetings 5 minutes early. Schedule meetings for 25 minutes rather than 30. Schedule meetings for 50 minutes rather than an hour. Take 5 or 10 minutes. Take a break between meetings. Take a breath. And I mean, literally, take 1 or 2 or 3 minutes. Center yourself again to calm down, to think about what's next, and then go in that and be refreshed. And so that's another way of doing it. There's also different apps. There is the Calm app, and there's a Headspace app, which actually do guided meditations and mindfulness. That Headspace, you could actually do courses on stress reduction, understanding anxiety, post-exercise, relaxation, loss, self-compassion. There's hundreds of different courses on Headspace that actually just give you sort of a few minutes a day to practice that. But it's making that into a habit for yourself and realizing the benefits and knowing it doesn't come instantly. For your viewers that do exercise, you know the first time you went out for a run or a swim or anything, you didn't get very far. But then you did it again, you got further. And then you did it again and you strengthened yourself. And then you felt good about that. And it's very similar as well with mindfulness. The brain and the body and that, it's a muscle. And it takes practice to strengthen that. So I think it's making a habit. It's actually realizing the benefits that you get from it. It's finding something like Headspace or Calm and using that app to sort of practice these different techniques. And actually just be kind to yourself. You won't get it right every day, but if you did 2 minutes and thought you could have done 5 minutes, well, you did 2 minutes. Congratulate yourself. If you forgot about it today and you went, oh, I forgot about that, oh, congratulate yourself. You reminded yourself that you didn't do it. So I'll do it tomorrow. I'll make sure that I build time. But so it's actually building that awareness and that time for yourself. But step by step, it's the same as anything. Don't do it all at once. We're not all going to sit there and go up into the hills and sit there for 3 days and meditate without food. You want to just start very slowly, build it up, see the benefits, feel the benefits, and actually see how you can take that into the focus and awareness of yourself, the people around you, the meetings you go into, the benefits that you're going to get from work, because you find yourself being more on top of everything that you're trying to do and more relaxed.
Yeah. So I like that how you actually raised that, like the educations, the having the mindset that knowing like, hey, this is actually beneficial for our life, our work, right? Like that is like, in a way, like we need to start with a motivations and actually wanting to make the change. Because like I guess if people tell you like, oh, you should do this because it's good, but if we actually don't believe in it, or we and maybe we don't believe in it because like we're not educated about it, or we don't know about the benefit for it, and then we don't have that drive, we don't have that motivations to keep going or get started, right? So like I really like that, like how your first suggestion is actually about like learning more about the benefit for this. And I'm sure like from this session, our viewers also like knowing more about the benefit of mindfulness and just in general help with their well-being too. So for last but not least, like if you can recommend just like one practice for somebody that just want to get started, among like all of the suggestions you have, like what do you suggest them to do?
I would say shortly after you get up in the morning, and it might be before you get ready or after you get ready, but take 5 minutes quietly alone and focus on your breath. Close your eyes and just breathe. And take a few deep breaths. And it's just feeling those breaths come in and going out. And when your brain gets distracted, you bring it back to the breath again and congratulate yourself when you realize that you did realize that you got distracted and bring it back. But literally take a few minutes, and it's just building that in the morning. Just build that into your routine. 4 or 5 minutes every day, or not even every day. Start with 2 or 3 times a week. And I think that will help people practice that, because it shows them the feeling that you get. And the more relaxed you come out of that, you almost stretch your shoulders. You know, it is relaxing when you do it. And I would suggest for our technical people amongst us, which I know there will be a lot of people watching that really like the technical, Google mindfulness, Google the science of meditation or the science of mindfulness. There's a lot of different resources out there and technical papers that have actually looked at the brain waves and measured the chemistry in the body and see the benefits that the mindfulness and meditation can actually give people physically. So it's not something that we're just saying, find a sort of space, try and breathe. It actually physically changes the body for the better. And so look up the science on it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I think focusing on the breath and just spend a couple of minutes, like it doesn't sound hard in a way, right? So it's just like now how when one actually intentionally doing it and building it into the habit. So I know I started meditation a little bit. I have to admit I haven't really keep up with it, but I know whenever like I feel my emotion rise a bit, I'm trying to like just thinking. Like I know that like always something that I'm feeling something. So just trying to be more clear in my mind and just help with, like, as you say, helping in a way with relaxing, because you are noticing about yourself, right? That like there's some extreme thinking or extreme emotional, and maybe you don't want that and you want to be like more aware and more control on it to help it feel better.
That's an amazing summary, and I think you made a good word there. It's with intent, and it's actually making that intention to make that small change. And it's recognizing when we get stressed, we all get stressed. None of us are perfect, and that's just being human. But it's not about being perfect or not being perfect. It's just being human and doing what we do. And I think that recognizing the emotions that we have in our body and actually the stress and the things that will come up, it's building that awareness to think, well, what do I do about it? And once you use the mindfulness, you can actually see when it can be challenging, see the different things that go on. And it's taking that time for ourselves to go, okay, I can now choose what to do with this emotion. It's a difficult emotion. I'll choose to let it go. I'll sort of choose to work with it. But you have a choice over what you want to do with your feelings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for being here today and just share with us about like on your insight about mindfulness and well-being. And yeah, I wish you all the best with your journey. And I know we all keep going and learning about these and making our life better, and also for in your situation, also making other people life better as well in your coaching journey as well.
Thank you, V. It was wonderful speaking to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Richard.